is I will give you a little bit of a follow-up on what we were talking about in the presentation. And the question of the difference between modules in Blackboard and modules in Canvas. In Blackboard, modules actually is a kind of a closed unit that students will work through, and it's sequential. In Canvas, modules are just basically large buckets into which you can put files. You can put PDFs, you can put URLs, you can put files, you can put pages, and so on. And we'll talk about that, but I want you to remember that, for example, modules cannot be formatted. So right here, this gray bar right here, that's a module. That's my big bucket. And then into that bucket, I can put, this is a page, this is a discussion, this is, right here is an assignment, there are links, there are videos, there are URLs inside this module. So basically that's the difference between Canvas. Canvas modules are a lot more flexible, but they're not, you cannot format them. You can't do anything, I can't do anything to change any way that this looks. This is it. I get, you know, I get to type in here and I get to be able to assign prerequisites. Then it's inside the module that I can start to format things. I can start to put different items. Does that help? Does that make sense? Are we good?
I'm here, Rhonda. That's Kelley.
Okay. Kelley, I was just, I just took him into a course. I made a dummy course. Well, I shouldn't call it a dummy course, but I made a developmental course here, so there's no students in it. So it's been, you know, I just copied it over, but I don't have any students in it, so that I don't have to worry about, you know, showing students' names and so on. And I thought, you know, whenever we need a live course, I can just jump right in here. So I was just showing them the difference between modules and in Blackboard versus modules in Canvas. Do you have anything to add to that? You want to add to anything to that?
No, I think it's wonderful that you can show it, for one thing, because yeah, I've been in Blackboard and Canvas, so I totally understand what you're saying. So go ahead, please continue. Sorry.
Well, one other thing I just wanted to point out was that here I am, I'm in the modules page, and then typically in Canvas, this is your landing page, right? This is where you're going to land. And here I have all of my modules for my entire course. They're all right here. Okay, but I can view the progress, and I actually lied. I actually put 2 students in my class here. One is Tracy Russo, and the other one is Kelley Senkowski. And as you saw, what I wanted to do is I wanted to see, how are my students doing? So here I am in my module page, and I want to view the progress. How are my students doing? And I found that both Tracy and Kelley have completed the first 3 modules, and they have not completed this next module. So I know exactly where they are. I can also tell you that they haven't really done much in terms of the assessments or the discussion yet, Kelley. I'm kidding. I just put you in this like midnight last night when I thought, let's put a couple people in there.
Oops, that makes sense.
Yeah, so, so you're forgiven. But at any rate, I wanted you to be able to see that functionality there, because as you build this, then you can see where is everyone and so on. Before we leave this page, I also want to show you that always, always, always check to make sure that you've published your modules. It's so easy to forget to do that. And then of course, students can't see it. So that's always, I will always say, don't forget to publish for exactly that reason. Stop me. Do you want to talk about modules? Should I get right into the presentation and how to format them? We good?
Oh, that'd be excellent.
Okay, let's start then. We'll take a look here. And this is the PDF that you have. This is where we're going to begin, and we're going to talk about, okay, so how am I going to format these modules? And I started out very, very simple. I'm just, how to actually, why are we worried about how we're going to format them? Why is this an issue? What is it about modules that we want to be able to use? And essentially, modules, as you saw, are a way of organizing the course. You organize them according to individual units, or by weeks, or by chapters, however you want to chunk up, cluster the information in your course. the main organization is going to be through modules. So these are the big buckets. And then you can, inside each module, indent as if you're making an outline. You can indent. This is a subunit, subheading, and you can create that kind of almost intuitive way of finding your way through the course in this way. Another caveat that I wanted to alert you to was to be able to name and format each module with consistency. And this will allow your students to automatically, the minute they walk into that module, they will automatically be able to have pre-existing knowledge as to what to do because they've already done it in the previous module. And then you'll be able to set your modules with prerequisites. No, you have to finish this before I want you to go on to this. Because we've all had students, or I've had students in online classes who thought, I'll knock this out in 2 weeks and then take a vacation. And then that student is not participating in discussions, that student's not giving peer reviews, that student's not participating and being, in the class, having a social presence in the class. And we all just heard about how important it is to have a social presence and to build a community. So those students who are gonna, knock that class out in 2 weeks, they're not being part of that social community and they're not really digesting the information. So I want them to be able to all go at a certain pace, and I can do that in modules. All right, so first of all, just how to create a module. When you walk in, when you open up your class, you're going to end up with a home screen looking similar to this. You click Add Module and you'll get a pop-up window. You name your module, and then you just click the blue button, Add Module. It's that simple. But there's no formatting that takes place here. Adding a picture or adding an icon or adding colors and so on, but it's really limited. There's very little that you can do. Your module should have a naming convention, right? So that you understand that this is the unit and these are your topics. These are the names that we're going to be using consistently through the course. Like I said, I'm going to remind you to do this 100 times because it's easy to forget. Don't forget to publish. You click that little button there and then it has been published. You've created a module. There you go. That's it. That's how a module is done. Now, once you've done that, inside the module is where you're going to put all of the course content, where you're going to put all of your course materials. How do you do that? You put the little plus button and you'll get another pop-up window. And then you go to, what you're going to add and you have a selection. Do I want to add an assignment, a quiz, page, discussions, external URLs, all of that, external tools. You have that you can select. If you've already created assignments or discussions or pages, you can select those from this list down here. And then you can choose to indent it as if you're making an outline. And then you just simply add the item. Once you do that, I've added all of my items to each of my modules right here. When I can go back to my module, I can name my module, or I can click this stack of 3 buttons and I can add a prerequisite. Okay, I need audio. Is that you, Kelley?
I'm sorry. Yes, I was just waiting for a break for a minute. I just wanted to, and I apologize, I'm late. I don't know what's going on with my internet here. I'm trying to facilitate a conference. I don't know what's happening. So I'm on my phone, so apologies. Okay. So I don't know how well the audio is, but I did want to just mention that. So when you're going to structure your course, and what Rhonda is going to walk us through and is walking us through, first think about how you want to structure it. In other words, do you want it to be like content is one bucket, overview or whatever you want to call it, lessons, and then the next one be assignments, or the next one be resources or labs or sample papers or whatever it is students have done, student sample work. So you just gotta kind of think how your course can be structured. If you have labs, maybe it's content or overview and assignments and labs. So it just depends what your course is to come up with these kind of buckets that will be the same in each module so students learn how to do the flow. So go ahead. Sorry, Rhonda. Go ahead, finish.
No, that's fine. In fact, I brought up a slide. I'm a couple slides ahead, but I brought up a slide to be able to illustrate what you were just talking about. So this is from the design course, Kelley. And so here you can see how, we've got your modules here, and then you have you've got pages, but you've also got, assignments and readings and all of that within a module. I've got my chat window up, and I see that not every Canvas has those capabilities.
So that was the one I was trying to clarify. What capabilities were you looking for?
Yeah. Pamela.
The U of M Dearborn uses Canvas, but when I go into those 3 little buttons that you just showed, Rhonda, I don't have the option to create a prerequisite. Now, it may be someplace that I'm not aware of because I'm not an expert in Canvas, but having used it for 3 years, I cannot find a way to make a prerequisite or to prioritize those assignments for the students.
When you create a module, and you're going to add a module, up at the top of your page, and on your module page, up at the top where you're going to add the module itself, can you add a prerequisite from that pop-up screen?
So if I'm going to add, all right, I'm going to go right in here. No, I have Commons Favorite. Oh, you're right. I found it.
Perfect.
Thank you, Rhonda.
Okay. Yeah, so that's exactly how you add a prerequisite. Once you click on that add prerequisite, then you'll be able to show, what exactly in that module do they have to complete before they can go to the next module. And so you can then adjust that function. How much of that do they have to complete? Because every now and again, you'll put something in there, a video or a timely item or something like that, that they don't, there's really no completion. They can move on without it.
But you cannot do that after the module is already created. You have to do it initially. Is that true?
You can go in. Kelley, help me with this.
Yeah, I think I would try to edit your module so you can edit.
Yeah, I'm looking at it, and I can't edit the ones that I've already created. I get an edit button, but all that allows me to do, I'll play with it. This might be specific to my campus, so I don't want to interrupt. Sorry.
No, that's fine. Please, by all means, let me know.
I'm guessing you can do that. And like you'll have to play around with it, but if you edit the module, I think then it'll come up with a prerequisite piece.
Okay, I'll work on it.
Another question came in on the chat too, Rhonda, that you might want to address. It was asking if, I'm not sure how they worded it because I'm on a phone, I can't see both, but it was something to the effect of how, if you have a video or something, then how, is every item required if you have a prerequisite? Like so what it's doing is making sure each page that you put in has to be viewed before they move on. So it's up to you what you put on the page. And Rhonda, you can pipe in after I'm done with my explanation because you might have a better idea. But so the prerequisite is going to make sure they've gone through every page in that module. So every subtopic underneath your module, which is a page or an assignment or something like that. So if you have a link that you want to make sure, maybe it's to your video or something, you can make sure that you just add that where you would a page so that that's counted as a prerequisite. But usually I just have them tell them that they have to go through each page, and on there I put my links. It won't, it's not going to tell me if they looked on that link, but they have to go through that page anyways to move on. So it's really how you want to structure that. It's just going to look different in your course. It's going to come up under where your subtopics are if you just add a link. So then you'd want to indent it or something so it's not a long line of items. But go ahead, Rhonda, you can answer it too if you have better suggestions.
No, I just have something to add. Something that Tracy had mentioned yesterday is, yes, you can control how the students move from module to module. But in many cases, they have to complete an assignment before they go to the next module. Make sure that they only have to complete an assignment, not necessarily with a grade, because that means that the onus is on you to grade their assignment within enough time for them to get to the next module. So you may be the one, because you haven't gotten to grading it yet, you may be the one who has impeded the student from going to the next module. So think about that before you set up prerequisites. Be careful, of how you want the students to move through and what your responsibility is to getting those students to the next module. All right, we good? How are we in chat? Should I move on, Kelley? I think we may have lost Kelley.
No, go ahead, move on.
Oh, you're there. Okay, mute your phone. Are we good? Okay, so let's take a look now at formatting modules. If modules is the big bucket, then what kinds of things will we do inside modules? And this is really where you're going to have the flexibility to move your students along as step by step by step. And so this is basically what we wanted to be, your big takeaway today. What we don't want you to do is something like this. And you shouldn't always start out with, and don't do this, but I wanted you to take a look at it. We're in a module and we have a long list of items here that don't make a lot of sense. So as a student, I opened up this module and I'm going to start with module 1 instructions. Okay, good. And then I'm going to take a quiz, and then I'm going to take a discussion, and then I'm going to do something else. And then I come back to it the next day and it's, wait, did I do that quiz? Did I do that discussion? Here's my, am I doing the task right now? And you can see it's starting to get confusing as I get toward the bottom of this list. I've had instructors come to me and say, my whole class is online. I got it all online. And when we went into the class, basically it was one module with 50 files, just a list of 50 files. And you can imagine as a student, it's like, what do I do with these files? What am I supposed to do? Where do I go? So as you create your modules, it's really important to recognize how to organize them so the student can flow from one to the next to the next. And if you'll notice, all of the modules should begin with an overview. An overview is a page. So from here, I'm going to go to plus, I'm going to add a page, and then on that page, I can format it. That page is easily formatable. So I can type out instructions. I can upload a video, watch this. I can give them reading assignments. I can put a link into discussions. I can do all kinds of things within that page to give them an overview. And the importance of this overview, I can't overstate this enough. Giving them an overview will be giving them directions on how to proceed through that unit, through that module. It reminds me of a friend who used to teach, soldiers to jump out of airplanes. And he used to give the best instructions in driving because he would tell you exactly where you are, what to expect, and what to do when you get there. And so it made it very easy. I know that I'm here, I know I'm going there, and these are the things I need to do to get there. And so that's what your overview is going to do. It's going to set them up. And all you have to do is create a page and give them the instructions, and then take them from one step to the next to the next. Now, oftentimes after you've given them the overview, then they go to the next step. Now I want you to read this. Now I want you to do this. And here are some samples. Here's some, some examples of good, good examples. All right. You can see how clear that is. It's very simple. It's, it's easy to follow, and it helps the students. It's a roadmap to help the students. Kelley, do I need to stop? Should I keep going? Any questions?
That sounds good. I was just kind of thinking when you were talking about the overview, just linking and maybe I missed it, you said that, but that's the placeholder, if you will, that I was referring to in the social presence presentation. To create your overview for what they need for the week, that's where you would put that at the beginning of that, and then whatever other content you wanted in there. Good.
All right. So what I did is I put an example of my overview, for my students. This is a page, and this is what I'm talking about. This is how you can format a page. So I give them, these are my lesson notes. They can also be called overview. It can be called, whatever, however you want it. Name consistency is really important. And then I tell them, all right, I typically format the material according to great big questions, right? This is focus on these questions as we go through the material. And then of course my assessments address some aspect of those questions. So this is what I told them to do. These are my big questions. These are the objectives. And then it's just a chart. When are you supposed to do this? What are you supposed to do? And where do I find it? And so, here it is, watch the videos. And then the next one is read, when do I do it? Read these PDFs, and then the PDF links are right there so that everything is right there. All they have to do is what am I supposed to do, and where do I find it? It's just that simple. And to be able to simplify it for students is really going to help them, be much more successful, to know exactly where they are and to know where they are in that process. This is just one example. You can also give them the overview. Here it is. Here's your readings. This is where I want you to do, and here's some samples. So that simplicity, that sequencing, and keep it structured. You have that same naming convention throughout the entire module. All right, how are we doing for time? Yes, 5 minutes, more questions. Are we good?
I'm just following the chat. Looks like people are answering people's questions. Excellent.
Excellent. Yeah, excellent. So let's see. Once you formatted the module for a unit, how can I copy the whole module with its nice formatting to the next unit? That's a good question. Kelley, you want to take that? You want me to answer that?
I was going to pull my course up, but I can't do it because my internet. I'm going to call them at lunchtime, but I know I've copied an entire course over to entire course, and I know that you can copy different ones within it. I just wanted to play with it while you asked me that question. But Rhonda, if you know, go ahead because I can't pull mine up.
Pam, you're raising your hand. Do you want to unmute yourself?
You can go to the module, and you have into those little dots next to it, and you are able actually to duplicate. So you can duplicate the whole module and then take out the things that don't work for the next week. You can take, yes. So you have the ability to see duplicate, and that will duplicate everything that's in there, at least for mine.
Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam.
Any other overall Canvas questions when you're thinking about designing your course?
We good?
Sorry, hi, I have a question that was neglected in the chat, or just was way at the beginning, so it was just missed. I was wondering if when you have modules with pages, when students open the page, sorry, let's say you have a module that's set up so that you have to complete it before you move to the next one, and they have to click on each of the items in the module and whatever that is, open the page. If you have things embedded in those pages, does it register whether the students have clicked on those or not before they can proceed to the next item?
Yes, it does.
Okay, good.
I kind of have a question along those same lines. And I think you showed us when you had your sample students to see where the progression was.
Mhm.
And so let's say it was they had to watch a video, take a quiz, and then make a discussion comment. Does it, I didn't remember, does it click off each of those things, or is it the whole module of how it's progressed?
It clicks off each of those things because in a page, that's only a link. That link will take them to the discussion or the assignment. And once that assignment is completed, then the prerequisite acknowledges that it's been completed. So in pages, those are just course links that take them to that site. And once that site is completed, it's registered in the prerequisite, if that makes sense. Any other questions? I don't have my chat up, so let me get that chat up and make sure that we've done anything else. Let's see. Copy the whole module. Question banks would be quizzes. Some discussion, question banks, okay. Creating quizzes and tests in Canvas. All right, is there anything specific I can show you quickly in Canvas? By creating a quiz, I can just click on that in my side menu, and then I can add a quiz. Right now we have two choices between classic quizzes and new quizzes. And to my mind, the biggest difference between the two is that it gives you more, the new quizzes give you more options, different kinds of things like ordering and hotspots and matching and so on, whereas those options aren't specifically there for classic quizzes. But for right now, let's just select a classic quiz, and then you name it, you give the students instructions, you can assign it to a group. For example, I had created groups within the Canvas that we'll be talking about later on this afternoon, how to do it. Or these are my midterm and final. These are my assignments, and I can import assignments from another class. So if I've created quizzes previously, or I have questions from quizzes that I've created previously, I can import those questions. And then you have all of the options. I typically let students see the correct answers after I've graded it. And you can show them all at one time, show them, the whole thing, the questions individually. And I don't require an access code. I don't filter their IP addresses. These are basically in terms of cheating, to keep it so that only that individual computer of that student is able to get into these quizzes. I did not do that primarily because, as you know, students moved from their campus to home. There would be a couple of, different IP codes that would be involved. And then you can save and publish the quiz. You can also then add questions here by just, it's just pretty obvious. I can select the kinds of questions I want. Most of my questions were essay questions. And then you have to, don't forget to click update question and then save. That's a real quick walkthrough, but, and it's pretty superficial, but if that helps.
I'd love to ask you to elaborate on managing question banks, because I find that gets unruly and I'm not sure what the logic is behind the interface.
But behind question banks?
Yeah.
Basically, you can reuse is that what I'm not sure I'm understanding what the complications are. You can reuse questions that you created previously by importing question banks. Textbook publishers also have created question banks, and importing those from textbook publishers, that's almost an entire, another session in itself, managing those banks. But
so what I'm referring to is the find, when you hit the find questions link at the bottom of creating a quiz, then it'll show you all the options on the left side of that set of questions. And then it turns out that you have a thing called question banks, an actual page where you can deal with that. So I don't understand how it's automatically set up in a certain way, but I find redundancy in my classes. I'll find an example of one class that's split across 3 question banks for some reason. I did nothing to it myself. So I just don't understand how I might better manage that. So like all of my questions from one class in a particular year are available. I want to separate them by year because I changed the questions, but I never want to lose any question.
Right. Kelley, do you have any experience with question banks, importing best question banks?
That's a very specific, detailed kind of question. I would actually call Canvas. Like we have, I don't know where you're from. I can't even see everyone's names on this thing, but like at Ferris, we have a dedicated Canvas tier 1 phone number, and other universities have different tier levels, but that
Sure,
is
I can do that. I don't mean to take the time, but no problem. Thanks. I'll follow up that way. Thank you.
Yeah, they're excellent. They've been fabulous for us.
I would like to add one thing though, because we switched, I'm from Ferris, from Blackboard to Canvas, and there are some issues, and when they transferred them in, they were, in Blackboard, they were broken up into chapters, and they came in all in one bundle. So luckily, when I had created the test question, I put the chapter number next to the title, so it was easy for me to fix. Another issue though too was in Blackboard, I had some where it wouldn't shuffle the answers because it was all of the above. Canvas doesn't give you that option. It's either all or nothing. You can't choose per question. So I've run into some issues this semester because I'm like, it's scrambling everything, and then it says choose A and B or what, whatever, and then A and B is completely wrong. And so for those of you that are switching in between, and maybe with this updated Canvas quiz system, I'm thinking that might be a little bit of difference. But I agree, it is hard to kind of organize those quizzes, especially when you're importing them from, like I did, from Canvas or from Blackboard to Canvas.
Yes, when you migrate from Blackboard into Canvas, there's quite a bit of cleanup in the first round of the class. Then you can copy it.
That's what it is.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Rhonda, thank you so
Thank
much.
you, everyone.